y'all, welcome back to Lilmaskitchen. Today we're going to be making curry chicken. This recipe is inspired by my auntie, Latita, a pioneer woman. She's a jack of all trades. Long story short, I took her recipe that I love and I just kind of put my own spin on it. So I made my own curry powder and everything. We're going to hook this up. Hopefully it'll be something special. Also, at the end of this video, I will be putting a few slides. Please check out my auntie. She has two businesses. One of them is called Naturally Yours Body Care Products. All natural, homemade body care products, lotions, salves, body oils. She also has another business line. It's called Tita's Homegrown Homemade Pickles and Jam. And when I tell you, smacking, she has some very good products. Things to include stuff like cranberry jalapeno jam, just different things, or cranberry ginger jalapeno jam. She has just wonderful, variations and different flavors that you've probably never had before. So again, I will put her slides at the end of the video. Please check out her products. And if you're interested, get in contact with her. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get everything prepped, and then we'll get right to it. I hope you enjoy. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to season our meat, our chicken, so we can go ahead and let it marinate for about 30 minutes to an hour. So if you don't have, long, I say, or I suggest that you marinate it for 30 minutes. But if you have a little longer, then go ahead and do it for the full hour. So what I'm going to start out with is my homemade curry powder. It's actually more of a Garam Masala, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, but I believe it's more of a Garam Masala, which is a different type of curry powder. It doesn't have as much of the turmeric in it. So my seasoning is infused with, I have allspice berries, I have cardamom, I have cumin, I have, let me look over here, coriander seed, ginger, mustard seeds, nutmeg, whole nutmeg that I use my grater to grate, and there's just so much in here. I also have ground clove. This smells so aromatic. It's delicious. I already know without even tasting it. I can smell it and tell you that it's going to be great. So this is the first time I'm trying this. I hope that you will too. If you haven't had an experience with whole spices, I suggest that you try. Just a little bit of information. You can go down to your Indian market, like your Indian spice market, and they'll generally have all of these whole spices available. And if you can't get them at the market that you have in your area, please be aware. You can always order everything on Amazon. Everything. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just give this meat a good little seasoning. So, I also want to point out that I made my own all-purpose seasoning. So, my all-purpose seasoning is taking the place of the seasoning salt. So, generally, I use seasoning salt. I don't have a problem with that. It's fast and easy, but unfortunately they were out of the Tony Cacharins, which is what I like. I like that Cajun seasoning salt. So I went ahead and I hooked my own up. I'll leave a recipe for this in the comments. So if you're interested, please feel free. I would love for you to try. It is delicious. It has all types of different spices and herbs. So it has oregano, it has thyme, it has paprika, it has parsley, it has onion powder, it has garlic powder. I mean, it has all that good stuff in it. Now, the thing is, your all-purpose seasoning, or my all-purpose seasoning, doesn't really have a lot of salt. I put about a teaspoon of salt in here, so that's not a lot of salt. So I will be adding more salt to this dish. So I'm just going to go ahead Sprinkle some of this. I want to get it really good infused through the meat. Seasoning is the key. So you have to season your food, you know. If you like bland food, this is probably not the channel for you. We like our food seasoned, and yeah, this is gonna be delicious. So also, I'm gonna go ahead and sprinkle in some of my garam, my allspice berries, and all that good stuff. All right, so we have our Garam Masala or curry seasoning added in. I think I'm gonna add a little more. I want it to be really flavorful. And like I said, this is just all whole spices and herbs. Oh, I can smell the like cinnamon. I can smell the nutmeg. I can smell the clove. It smells so wonderful. Oh my goodness. Okay, so let me just kind of give you an overview of what I have here. So we have some potatoes, we have some red onions, we have some scallions or green onions, whatever you want to call it. We have our carrots. I have 4 carrots. I have a little bit of lemon. I'm going to use that for acidity. I have fresh garlic, cloves. I have about 2, 4, 6, about 7 garlic cloves. I have fresh ginger, tomatoes. I couldn't find a Scotch bonnet pepper, so I actually have a habanero here because I want some heat to this. And generally, you know, when you think about like a Caribbean curry or something like that, like a Jamaican curry, they make it spicy. So I think I prefer that. So I'm going to include some heat. So again, what we have here is our habanero. I would have preferred a Scotch bonnet, but they didn't have it over at Safeway. So we have our fresh tomatoes. This is going to add a little bit of color. And then I have here bell peppers, green, yellow, and orange. I also have some fresh thyme. So this is the fresh thyme sprigs that we're going to throw in. In addition to that, you see here my sea salt that I use, my French. Lovely. It's very good. And I'm also going to probably use chicken broth in place of water. So that's something I just kind of added at the last minute. We're going to marinate this for about 30 minutes to an hour, just depending on your time frame that you prefer. If you have an hour, I would suggest that you go ahead and let it marinate for the full hour. But if not, 30 minutes should be fine. All right. So you can see that the chicken has been marinating for about 30 to 45 minutes. And I think that is long enough. It looks good. Honestly, if I had a little more time, I probably would let it marinate, you know, for a couple of hours. We're hungry and we're ready to eat, so 30 minutes to an hour is totally sufficient. But again, you could completely let this marinate for, you know, 6 hours or overnight, whatever it is. It would just infuse the chicken and make it taste better. So with that being said, let's go ahead and head over to the stove. So what we're going to do, shout out to the Jamaicans. In Jamaican curry, they do something where they call it a burning curry. So first thing I'm going to do is just drop my vegetable oil in there. That's about 2 tablespoons full. You really don't need a lot. Next thing I'm going to do is drop in a little bit of the curry. So I'm going to get that around in there real good. And I turn that fire up pretty high. It's blazing. And I'm going to take about a tablespoon of my curry spice that we talked about in the beginning with the allspice berries and everything. And just dump it in there. Alright. So I'm going to just kind of burn that in the oil. Not really burn it, but I guess that's the terminology. Just cook it in the oil a little bit, because what it's going to do is it's going to put more flavor into the chicken when we actually start to brown it. So I think that's good. And again, that fire is pretty high. I'm going to go ahead and add the chicken. Okay, so I'm going to give it a toss in the oil so that it can all kind of get coated first. Oh, it smells good already. My Lord. I can smell the cinnamon. I can smell the nutmeg. I can smell the clove. My goodness, this smells amazing. And it's just beginning to cook. This is the first time I've ever made this, so we're doing it live. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this cook for about, I'm going to say 5 minutes, and then I'm going to flip it over. So we're just going to brown the chicken. So we'll check on it again in a few minutes to see the progress. Okay, so let's give it a check. All right, so as you can see, we're browning that chicken. I'll have it on a pretty high heat. A little more than medium high, I would say. And I've just been browning it. So I browned it on one side for about 2 to 3 minutes, and then on the other side for a few minutes. So as you can see, that looks really good. Yummy. What I have to tell you is it's smelling so good up in here right now, y'all, that I'm honestly contemplating if I'm going to post this spice mix or not. Because the truth is, I think I might be able to sell this. You might have to buy this one. This is cracking. It is smelling so delectable. Delectable, however you say it. So anyway, all right, we're going to go ahead and throw in the onions and the bell pepper now, because we just don't need to wait. Let's just get it in there. No need to wait. Let me use my hand. It would be a lot easier. I have clean hands. I wash them multiple times. A little faster that way. Alright, so we just threw in the bell peppers and the onion. Let's just mix that in. Make sure it's on that high heat. Give it a good stir. Okay, we're going to put the lid on again, and we're going to let it sit for about 15 minutes, and then we'll come back and check on it to see the progress. All right, yes. I hope you can see that there. Looking real good. Yummy. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and throw in, I'm going to put in the green onions, the habanero that I'll replace for the Scotch bonnet, the ginger, and the thyme. So let's just put that in now. All in at once. And I'm going to wait to put in the tomato and the remaining green onions. I reserved a little bit of that for last. I still have the potatoes and carrots setting aside as well. So let's go ahead and just give that a stir. Stir it all in together. It smells amazing. That is what I will tell you. I'm gonna turn down the fire just a little bit. So I'm thinking maybe it's a medium high right now. It was on like really high. So we'll turn that down a little bit. I'm also gonna add in some chicken broth. Now, you don't have to use chicken broth. You can use water. But I'm gonna go ahead and put in the chicken broth. I'm gonna say about 3 cups. That's about 3 cups. Maybe I'll need a little more, but I think I will start with this. So I'm just gonna push it down. I don't want to put too much because I don't want to dilute the flavors. I want it to be very flavorful. So I think that's a good amount. If you don't want to use chicken broth, use water. If I didn't have chicken broth, I would use water.
Where'd you go?
So again, we have our fire on about a medium-high heat.
That was $36.
And then we're going to throw the lid on. And we're going to let this cook for about 15 minutes. And then we'll be back to check on the progress. Woo! Okay. Look at that. All right. That looks good. So I'm turning the fire down. And just giving it a good stir. I can see the thyme has cooked off. That fresh thyme. I used a nice little bunch. I don't know exactly how much. I'm going to say about maybe 5 or 6 sprigs. Yeah, this is smelling amazing. So let's go ahead and throw in the, actually, let's throw in the potatoes and carrots and the rest of the bell peppers. I'm going to throw this in first before I throw in the tomatoes and the remaining green onions and a little bit of lemon. Okay, so let's stir that in. Yummy. Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay, so I just mentioned lemon, and initially during the setup, I had lemon, which I planned on using. But I can let you know that during the process of this recipe, once I tried it, it was amazing. So I excluded the lemon and I never added it.
Okay, so we just stir that in really good. I'm actually going to put the heat back up to a medium high. I turned it down, but I think it should be on a medium high. That just feels appropriate. Okay. You can see that chicken is starting to tenderize and break up. It looks amazing and it smells amazing. So we're going to go ahead and just push the potatoes and everything down into the broth. Let's just get it under there. And then we're going to let it cook for about 15 more minutes. So again, I have it on a medium-high heat, and we're going to let it cook for about 15 more minutes, and then we'll come back and check on it again to see the progress after the potatoes. Yes. All right, so it's been about 15 minutes. We have the potatoes and the carrots that are softening up. I do think that the potatoes need to cook a little more, at least for another 15 minutes or so, maybe even 20. I want them to be nice and soft. It's gonna thicken up the sauce a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw in the green onions and tomatoes now. That was the remaining green onions and the tomatoes. The tomatoes will give it a little bit of color, and it will also balance out the acidity. It's funny because it smells almost sweet. Like, it smells amazing. And I think that sweetness, the smell of sweetness, comes from the clove, the cinnamon, and the nutmeg that is in the Garam Masala. So yeah, those potatoes are starting to soften up. They just definitely need to soften up even more. Doesn't this look delicious? It smells great. You can see that thyme cooking off of there, and yes, I look forward to eating this. I know we have a couple of potatoes in here, more to give it thickness, the gravy and all, but I'm still gonna make some white rice. I just feel like this needs to go on some white rice. Like, you wanna get all of that goodness. So in order to do that, I'm gonna make some jasmine rice, which is my favorite. So yeah, we'll check back in about 10 or 15 minutes as stated, and hopefully everything will be done and all marinated together, looking the way we want to see it. All right, so this cooked for about 20 minutes, maybe 25, because when I checked it, I wanted the potatoes to be just a little more tender. So I did allow it to cook for about 10 more minutes. So initially we said 15 minutes. So it actually cooked for about 25 minutes more total. Now, I also tasted the salt content about halfway in, just to make sure that it was the way I like it. And I actually added about another teaspoon of salt. So maybe a teaspoon to a teaspoon and a half of salt. So delicious. I'll just give it a stir again so you can kind of see. You see all of the chicken. It's extremely tender. It is delicious. When I tell you this is great, it's smacking. So trust me. With that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get it plated and give it a try. But I pretty much tasted it. I'm gonna let someone else sample it. That's what I should say. But it's delicious. So I hope you guys try it out. Please do subscribe. Leave comments, and if you do try the recipe out, I would love to see some of your photos. So please feel free to tag me in some of the photos on my Facebook group, which is called Creative Cooking Group. And I appreciate the support. Thanks. Have a good night.